A Boeing 747 was traveling at an altitude of 10,000 meters, its body constantly swaying from side to side. What should passengers do hanging by a thread? In this video, we will explain. On the 9th of October 2002, Northwest Airlines Flight 85 departed from Detroit International Airport in the United States for Narita Airport in Japan. The flight took about 3.5 hours. There were 386 passengers and 18 crew members on board, including Captain John Hansen, an experienced instructor on the Northwest Airlines 747. About halfway through the flight, to avoid fatigue, the second-in-command, Frank Gale, and the first officer, Mike Fagan, would take over. By then, the plane had reached the Bering Strait. The Boeing 747-451 was equipped with a comfortable cabin, where the captain and first officer, David Smith, would rest for 5 hours before returning to take over. As expected, the plane would arrive at Narita Airport in a little over 6 hours. Suddenly, there was a violent jolt, and the plane suddenly overturned, causing the two crew members, who had just settled in, to be completely panicked. The co-pilot struggled to stabilize the plane. What had gone wrong? Panic spread among the passengers. The co-pilot decisively disengaged the autopilot and attempted to level the plane manually. Manual leveling temporarily stabilized the plane, but the captain still could not fully control it. After that, the Tianhong damper alerted the crew to the need for rudder adjustment. The rudder is used to adjust the left and right yaw of the aircraft, and also controls and directs the airflow to maintain level flight. The crew's top priority was to stabilize the Boeing 747's massive fuselage and keep it in balanced, straight flight. Normally, the upper and lower rudders work together, but for some reason, the lower rudder had deviated 17 degrees to the left and was stuck firmly. The captain used all his strength to keep the plane level, controlling the upper rudder with the pedals and moving the ailerons with the joystick. But this was only a temporary solution and would not last long. The captain took over the work of the first officer, giving him more time to consult the section chief's manual. The manual did not contain the relevant troubleshooting solution, and if another incident occurred, a crash was only a matter of time. It was impossible to reach the airport in the current conditions. Other options were necessary. The other pilot immediately called the captain back to the cockpit. Unfortunately, the rain continued throughout the night, and Flight 85 had already left the radio range of Anchorage. Everything in the cabin was normal, and the passengers assumed that they had only encountered turbulence. The crew thought of contacting nearby Flight 19. Flight 85 began to turn back toward Anchorage. At the same time, Flight 19 also reported the request of Flight 85 to Anchorage control. With one rudder missing, the captain hesitated to use it and tried to control the aircraft with the ailerons. However, this caused the aircraft to slip sideways, pulling the nose and tail to the sides. The captain was already exhausted. The co-pilot did not dare to rest, fearing that the lower pilot would fall. The crew had never encountered such an emergency before during training or flight. The fault manual did not give any references, so they could only take it one step at a time. With an hour and a half to go before Anchorage, what should they do? During the handover process, First Officer Fagan gained a firm grip on the control column. Then Captain Hansen took over as co-pilot. This was done to maintain the stability of the aircraft and avoid further potential hazards. Once the captain was in control, the plane could not tolerate even the slightest change. Unsure of how long this situation could last, the crew held a conversation and decided to inform the passengers of the current state of the plane. The passengers began to panic, and a series of gas filled the cabin. The crew decided to contact Northwest Air Operations Control in Minnesota, hoping that they would be able to provide assistance. While the crew was waiting for a response, the vibration in the control column intensified, forcing the captain to lower the plane to achieve greater success. After careful practice, he successfully descended to 8,530 meters. Exhausted by the long hours of concentration and physical exertion, the captain's legs began to ache. The captain released the joystick, allowing the co-pilot to take control. It was a challenging maneuver, but there was no better option. With an hour to go before anchorage, the flight attendants had to get everything cleaned up and organized, preparing for the worst. Control relayed the captain's call to the engineer, but the engineer had no better solution, which forced the crew to improvise. It wasn't until 30 minutes later that they finally contacted Anchorage Air Traffic Control. The Anchorage is nestled in the mountains, and Flight 85 had to make an emergency landing in the Aleutian Mountains. The air traffic controller cleared the crew to land on runway 6, the longer of the two. The crew had only one chance to align with the runway. Before that, they had to check the feasibility of landing to get a reliable reference. Even if they failed at that altitude, they could still try again, but the crew's request was rejected by air traffic controllers. The area was extremely busy, and losing control could have created a high risk of collision. The Class 85 descended slowly. The crew first deployed the ailerons to increase the aircraft's stability, then lowered the landing gear to reduce air resistance and slow the aircraft. The lower the altitude, the more pronounced the directional deviation would become, requiring the captain to expend more energy using the ailerons to correct it. His legs tightened again, forcing the co-pilot to take control. Increasing speed improves the aircraft's maneuverability. As the Class 85 approached the airport, the crew and engineers discussed possible landing scenarios, preparing everything for success. Success depended on this decisive move. The crew first increased the power of the left engines and reduced the power of the right engine to balance the flight behavior. The uneven power of the engine could easily cause the steering column to break, which required extreme caution. Ground rescue was also fully prepared. As the crew landed, they reviewed the necessary precautions with the engineers. The crew had already reached a speed of more than 300 km per hour, and the flight attendants had completed the landing preparations. The plane had already descended below 2,440 meters, and the engineers were no longer able to help. With the landing approaching, everyone on board was on high alert, a life or death situation looming. Immediately after touchdown, the co-pilot controlled the joystick, while the captain steered the front wheels to prevent the plane from climbing the runway during the high-speed landing. The plane landed safely and all 404 people on board survived. The NTSB will now investigate the accident. Investigators discovered a hydraulic fluid leak on Flight 85. The plane's pedals and rudder are connected by a hydraulic control module, or TCM. When the pilot pressed the pedals, the power control unit changed the hydraulic pressure to control the tail rudder. After removing the tail access panel, investigators discovered that the control module cap had fallen off. This 3-inch diameter cap nearly caused the crash. Investigators believe that the removal of the cap caused the piston in the module to become out of alignment. The rudder lost control. So how did it break? The cap is made of a strong aluminum alloy. Upon inspection, investigators discovered that the module had suffered from metal fatigue from long-term wear and tear. Boeing 747 parts are designed to last for decades, so this shouldn't have happened. If a part had failed prematurely, the consequences would have been catastrophic. To prevent similar incidents, investigators need to quickly determine the cause of the accident. Testers painted the metal with a fluorescent dye and then illuminated it with ultraviolet light. Any flaws in the metal would have been highlighted. The test results showed no problems with the metal material. What was the real reason the part failed? The investigators were puzzled. Just as the investigation was stalling, the aircraft historical record caught their attention. Northwest Airlines, the first customer for the Boeing 747-400, had purchased a test aircraft. Investigators suspect that the rigorous flight testing played a role in the failure of the control module. Flight 85 had flown 55,000 hours and at least 7,000 takeoffs. This number of takeoffs and landings is significantly higher than for aircraft of similar flight age. Each takeoff and landing places a heavy load on various systems, especially on short-haul flights, where the takeoff and landing loads are higher than those experienced during flight. Although investigators have not yet determined the cause of the cap rupture, the NTSB recommends that airlines increase module inspections and establish mandatory inspection cycles. 4 years later, a similar failure occurred on an Air France Boeing 747 lighter, but no signs of metal fatigue were found in the control module. Instead, a manufacturing defect was identified, making it impossible to confirm that the failure was similar to Flight 85. Boeing later installed a special latch in the control module to prevent the cap from separating, which caused the large wing to deflect. Furthermore, the safe landing was due not only to the crew's exceptional piloting skills but also to the 747's dual rudder design, which saved 404 lives. Following the accident, the Pilots Association awarded all four crew members the annual Outstanding Flight Award in recognition of their outstanding performance during the incident.
If you like the video, then like and subscribe the channel.